Jack, Josh Doig, no-brainer, was it, to give him the new deal?
I think there's obviously a couple of parts to it. I think for us to give ourselves protection in terms of trying to keep him at the club for longer, and protection a longer contract gives you in terms of any potential suitors in the future, and then also because his progression to the first team has been quick, and his previous contract was obviously one that reflected him being a development player. I think it's also incumbent upon a club to ensure that they're rewarding players for where they stand within the club. He's a first team player on merit, and I think he'll continue to be so. So I think it was important that we recognised that as well. So pleased that we were able to come to an agreement with him, and I think he's actually delighted. We're obviously really pleased as well. That's another hopefully positive step forward the club in terms of securing as good a young player as him for a number of years ahead.
He belies his years, doesn't he? Just 18, very level-headed, both on the pitch, and he speaks very eloquently as well. Has it surprised you just how meteoric his rise has been this season? And do you still need to be careful with him as well?
You can. I think it's always easy when somebody has made a positive impact as managers and coaches. And I think we're all guilty at times to say, yes, I believe absolutely that would be the case. So I think what I can say is that when he was given the opportunity pre-season, he properly grabbed that and he made a big impression on us, and that's why he started the first game against Kilmarnock a long time ago now, and then he's continued to play regularly on merit. So we thought he had the potential to do what he's done this season. We couldn't have said with any certainty, because I think the last part of probably proving that you're capable of playing first team football at a big club is how you handle the demands of that. I think that's something that's almost impossible to say until people are thrown into that environment, and he's flourished under it. His temperament is terrific. How he's handled the challenges of the season, how he's handled the disappointments of the season, if you like, because we've had a couple as a club, and then he's had some dips as a player as well. And I think we've been fortunate that we've been able to manage him correctly in terms of taking him out of the team when we felt it was appropriate, taking him off in games when we feel it was appropriate. I've been able to do that because I've got somebody like Lewis Stevenson at the club that enables me to have comfort in terms of doing that as well. So I think it probably couldn't have worked any better in terms of what he's given us and how we've been able to manage him, and I think that's enabled us to get in this position. And the next challenge is obviously for both him and myself as a manager is to keep improving him and for him to keep getting better. Is
it too early to bracket him in the Keane and Robertson mould?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got. I think again that happens. We run away with ourselves very quickly when young players make a big impression. But there's undoubtedly he has. Again, we've already mentioned his mindset and his temperament. So that allied to the fact he has really modern attributes as a fullback. I think there's parts of his game that he still needs to improve upon, but I think he can improve them, which is key as well. So I think we speak often to him about the bits that he can get better at, and already we've seen improvement in them. And I still think he's got the capabilities of making them even stronger. And I do think he's got that combination between his technical ability and his mindset to enable him to have a really, really good career. You know, if he can get to the levels of those guys that you've mentioned, then that would be outstanding. But I think it's not a pipe dream for him to have that sort of ambition. I think he's got the qualities and proven that he's able to handle the challenge of playing for Hibs at 18 years old. I think points towards that.
Thanks, Jack.
Thanks, Brian.
I mean, Jack, how big for the club would a third place finish this season be?
I think in the context of the history of the club, I think it would be very important. I think in a big achievement. I must admit I was surprised when I was made aware that it only happened, I think, 4 times in my lifetime, and not saying that for effect. It's genuinely surprising. I think most people would be surprised by that because of the size of the club, the history of the club, and I think what people believe the expectation of that club should be and where it should be challenging to finish. So it would be significant achievement. There is obviously then the very obvious reward in terms of European football and how that pathway might look into Europe as well, because of everything else that is currently going on at the moment with regards to the Scottish Cup. So we've had clear targets at the start of the season, and we've put ourselves in a good position to try and achieve them. But we've got a huge amount of work ahead to make sure we do that. But to be in this position at the table at this stage is good, really encouraging for us, and it's about finishing the job now for us.
Is there still a wee chance of second place?
No, I think they would have to be a huge amount of results going in both in our favour and not just for us but other clubs as well. So no, for us it's always genuinely been about points and continuing to accumulate points, and we've done that fairly consistently over the season. If we break the season down into 6-game sections, there's fluctuations amongst them, but in terms of points average, we've stayed fairly consistent with that. And if we can finish the season in that respect, in that kind of same points per game ratio, then we're going to give ourselves every opportunity to finish in there, and that in itself would be very, very good. Lastly,
from me, you got Josh's contract sorted out today. Is there talks ongoing with others like Jackson Irvine, for example, other guys who are coming to the end of deals?
Well, obviously, we've tried to work through, and each and every player has their own unique situation. And obviously, Joe's committed to the club. Louis Stevenson had done it earlier. Josh was slightly different, and he wasn't out of contract, but still somebody we wanted to secure. Fear there's been discussions ongoing. Jackson's slightly different in that I think the position he was in and we were in, we felt it was mutually beneficial for him to come in and play games with us, help us, improve us, and help him get back playing. And I think it was something for us to look at further down the line in terms of how he feels his career is going to progress from here, and how we feel as if we want to go as a squad. But certainly at the moment, how we wanted it to be is panning out that way. And I think ideally we want to try and keep as many of this group together as possible. I think that's for obvious reasons in terms of where we're at the moment, how we've performed. And thankfully that seems to be going in the right direction at the moment as well.
Jack, how's your squad looking for the weekend?
We've got one or two doubts that we're going to have to leave until tomorrow morning. We've had a fairly settled squad and lineup in recent weeks, but as ever, the accumulation of games can sometimes take its toll, and little knocks take longer to heal. So we've had doubts over 4 or 5, but thankfully 3 of them trained today. We've got a couple that we've got question marks over at the moment, but I'm not going to give you their names. But we'll decide tomorrow morning whether they're able to be involved.
And just obviously you had the player with the COVID test last week. I take it, have they returned to the squad and are okay?
No, they'll return into the group beginning of next week because the player after post his positive test, he had some symptoms and was unwell for a period. So in terms of the protocol following, blood tests and ECGs, etc., to make sure that he's properly fit and healthy to return to training. But that should be ticked off over the weekend, all being well. So then hopefully they'll be able to return with us beginning of next week. Thank you.
Jack, you touched on Joe a wee bit there, but obviously he signed his new deal earlier in the week. Happy with his progress this season?
I think he's been an important player for us this season. I think that's been recognised. I think he's had deserved plaudits. He's when you work with him every day, you appreciate how good a player he is. He is a very talented player. He's got very good pedigree. If you look at the number of games he's played his career and the level he's played them at, obviously he's played in a different role this season, playing more centrally, and you feel as if it was better suited to him. And I think he's flourished under that as well. So again, if you look at his age profile, we feel as if he's coming at the peak years of his career. So I think it's a good fit. Again, we've hopefully helped him improve his game, given him the platform to show how good a player he is, and I think he's more than rewarded us, if you like, in terms of the level of performance he's given this season.
Because he's had to, obviously, when he started his Hibs career, he perhaps came in for a bit of criticism, but this season he's definitely proved his doubters wrong.
Yeah, obviously I can't, even when I came to the club, we did okay results-wise. He probably was slightly narrower, and he played outside the diamond quite a lot, but he still probably didn't have that settled position, and then obviously also didn't really have a settled period of being fit and available. I certainly think he has benefited from, as I said, that stability of being fit most of the season, and then that consistency of the role he's been asked to play in. And certainly I think certainly this season he's proved his worth, and consequently I think why fans of the club were obviously so pleased to commit his future to the club as well.
Jack, what do you expect from Motherwell tomorrow?
Well, I think the way that the Premiership has evolved this season, that perhaps now with the exception of obviously the Championship, there is a lot to play in. I'll play for, in all parts of the league. And we played against opponents last week who were obviously desperate for points to come away from the bottom of the table and produce a performance befitting of a team like that. And I would expect similar tomorrow. I know Motherwell are slightly further away from that, but I still think I've obviously recognised the need for them to keep accumulating points. And I think what Graham would have looked for in the back of the 2 previous games was a positive reaction midweek, and he certainly got that as someone I watched the game, and I thought they were impressive in the game. So we, although we drew them early in the season under Stephen and then beat them in the first part of the games, have been tough like they all are for us. So I expect a team that'll provide as stiff opposition as we've had in recent weeks, because at this stage of the season there is certainly no easy games in the Premiership with so many teams with things to play for.
In terms of obviously Josh and Joe's new contract, we spoke to Josh just a couple of minutes ago. Is it easier to sell these players, new contracts because of, it is an exciting time to be at the club?
I think it helps. Undoubtedly, it helps. We, hopefully, we can continue where we are at the moment and have that opportunity to play in Europe, which is a big thing for a player. Offers another stage for them to perform on, raises their profile again. And players like winning games. They like being part of a team that is winning more often than not, and we've managed to do that this season as well. So, and then if they're playing well, I think they're enjoying their football and feeling as if they're improving. So it definitely helps. It's definitely easier to convince players to stay with you when they feel as if the club is going in the right direction.
Jack, just before we go, can I ask you about Lenny leaving Celtic this week? And was that a surprise to you, first of all? And what legacy will he leave at Celtic Park?
Well, I think I've said this previously. Managers will probably give you the same answer that any time any manager loses a job in whatever circumstances. I think there is a huge degree of empathy from fellow managers, because in the current modern day football climate, it's a tough job at times and a demanding job, and can be relentless in terms of the pressures that you face. So, and Neil had that probably way more than most would get. In terms of legacy, I think time undoubtedly will be very kind to Neil. I think people will look back in years to come at what he achieved in his tenure at the club, not just as a player, but then obviously when he entered the progression of being a manager and the number of trophies he's won, because it's not easy to win silverware as a manager, irrespective of the club you're at. And he won a lot of big games and a lot of big matches. And disappointed to see him leave his position. He's somebody that I get on well with. I've enjoyed coming up against him as an opposition manager when I've been at different clubs, and he's been either a Celtic manager or Hibs manager. Got a lot of time from him, enjoy the conversation with him, and I hope he enjoys a bit of peace from some of the madness he's probably had to endure over recent times as well. But yeah, in the main, disappointed to see him leave. And
of course, whenever names are mentioned, your name's in there, Jack, as a potential successor. Is that flattering at the moment, actually, in terms of what you've achieved this season, and your name is in there with some very, very big names as potential managers at Celtic?
It'd be more flattering if there wasn't about 750 names ahead of me, Brian, on that list.
Not quite as many as that, Jack. No. There's not
just a couple of hundred. No, I think I'm enjoying it very much. Enjoying the job here, Brian. I've spoken often enough about how I'm trying to progress this club, and I feel as if we're starting to get there with it. And a long way to go in terms of feeling I'll be satisfied in terms of what I'm doing here. But you're saying not that many names, but I'm positive I may have seen your name ahead of mine, Brian. So
absolutely not. No. You're way above my name, Jack.